Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's class. Today we're talking about cultural humility and nutrition planning. So my name is Abigail. I am the co-founder of That Clean Life. And I also have here with me Evita, who is our dietitian in residence. So if you've ever been to one of our live classes, you know the drill by now. We love to keep these super interactive. So what I want you to do, pop into the chat box, turn that to all panelists and attendees and say hello. Let us know who you are and where you're tuning in from. I see we already have John here from Arizona, but I'd love to know who else we have. So please don't be shy. Let us know. And while you're doing your introductions, I'm going to talk about the agenda for today's class. So we're super excited to bring you a really great class today on the topic of cultural humility, one that we feel is not talked about often enough. So in today's class, we're going to discuss what cultural humility means, and we will reflect on where potential bias may occur when nutrition planning. We will also discuss key considerations for creating cultural nutrition resources. And finally, we'll take you right into That Clean Life to show you how to apply what you've learned today and how to find culturally appropriate recipes and use them to create culturally aware nutrition plans. So I see lots of introductions coming in. I see Jen is here from Argentina. Awesome. Nancy, Colette, welcome everybody. Okay, so our goal for this class today is to give you a basic understanding of cultural humility and help you feel more confident when it comes to creating nutrition plans for clients from diverse backgrounds. And just a reminder, as usual here, we are recording this live class and we'll send you the recording tomorrow so you can watch it back. Now, before we dive into the class, Evita, I'd love to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and share your own personal experience with cultural humility.
Thank you so much, Abigail. And hello, everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the dietitian in residence here at That Clean Life. And as a registered dietitian, I've actually spent most of my career working in acute clinical care and serving a diverse population, working on increasing access to nutritious, sustainable, and culturally appropriate food, continuing the work to increase inclusivity within the field of nutrition, and providing training on cultural competence and food justice. So this is a topic I'm very passionate about, and I'm excited to chat about this today. So again, in that chat box, keep it coming. I would love to see your questions, hear your thoughts, and help out wherever I can. And for this presentation today, we also had the pleasure to consult with Rosie Mensah for her insights on today's topic. Rosie is a registered dietitian, consultant, and food justice activist. Rosie developed the CEDAR course, which is an anti-oppression course for nutrition professionals, which I will also talk about further in this lesson. And she co-founded Dietitians for Food Justice, which is a social media group working to increase inclusivity in the field and work towards food justice for all.
Awesome. Okay. So when we sent out the invite to this class, some of you actually replied and you said, what is cultural humility? And that's a really great question. It is a relatively new term. So Evita, why don't we start there? What exactly is cultural humility?
Yes. So like Abby said, the cultural immunity is kind of a new term. Let me know in the chat box, how many of you have heard this term before, or maybe you've heard the term cultural competence. I want to start by defining what culture is, which refers to the ideas, customs, and behaviors of a group of people or a society. And it influences everything that we do, including the foods that we eat. So providing culturally appropriate nutrition guidelines and nutrition therapy recommendations is essential, because without it, or removing it from our nutrition therapy, it may perpetuate health inequities and disparities among certain marginalized and diverse communities. So practicing cultural humility is a lifelong process. Unlike cultural competence, which sort of insinuates that it's a skill that can be mastered, cultural humility is more than just educating yourself on someone's culture, customs, or food preferences. It requires you to constantly self reflect, self critique, and become aware of your own values, your culture, your beliefs, your biases, and your position in the world. It requires you to respect your client as an individual. It requires you to practice reflective listening and incorporating your client's preferences, culture, and boundaries, and always involving them in any decision making. And cultural humility requires historical awareness and educating yourself on historical realities and injustices that shape today. And to get to a place of cultural humility, it requires some stages of learning and self-reflection. It's not that we're going to acquire and be all culturally aware and humble today. It requires stages. So the first step is that awareness. So that's where you become conscious and appreciative of the influence of culture on society. The next step is cultural knowledge, where you're educating yourself around cultural differences, understanding behaviors, including food practices, health customs, and accessing healthcare. And then you're developing some skills to learn how to do culturally sensitive assessments and interventions. Next, you'd be ready to involve some cultural encounters. You're engaging in those cross cultural encounters with clients and other people. And lastly is the desire, which needs to be genuine and open to learning about different cultures. So these steps require us to continually engage in self-reflection and self-critique as lifelong learners and reflective practitioners. In order to move through these stages, though, it's important to address any implicit bias. So, implicit bias, think of it as an unconscious association, belief, or attitude toward any social group that affects our understanding, actions, and decisions. So, how do we address that implicit bias? Let's start with performing a self assessment of your own beliefs, values, biases, prejudices, and stereotypes. And that's the first place, the first step towards building cultural humility. And why does this matter? How does bias affect nutrition? Let's talk about what healthy eating looks like. So I want everyone here to just take a moment right now to think about, what does healthy eating look like to you? If you had to picture it, if you had to think of what foods are included or excluded, what would that look like? Because healthy eating looks different across ethnocultural communities and geographic locations, based on food accessibility, sustainability, and food cultures. But the spaces that create the ideas around healthy eating are often not diverse and inclusive, from research and academic spaces to media and communications. So, what is deemed healthy comes with a fair share of bias. It's often presented through a Eurocentric or Western lens, which suggests that other cultures' foods are not considered healthy. And health disparities may develop if nutrition professionals fail to give these culturally competent nutrition interventions. For example, we can calculate how much protein a client needs, but then we need to recommend food that fits within the client's culture to help them meet those needs. So you have to understand what they eat and where those foods come from. So to show up and serve different communities requires cultural humility. Nutrition advice should be based on your client's tastes and dietary preferences, and cultural foods are integral to this.
Okay, so that is so well said. And I think it's so important to be mindful of this when nutrition planning for clients. So now that you better understand what cultural humility is and how our biases as health professionals may impact the nutrition care we provide, let's talk about key considerations. So, Evita, what are the things health professionals should be doing in their practice to create more culturally aware nutrition resources?
Definitely. And the first point to consider is completing a thorough and inclusive assessment. So you may think you know what your client needs. So maybe you jump into creating a meal plan or recipe book for them or a meal planning guide, but you need to make sure that you complete a thorough and inclusive assessment to understand what they need and where those foods come from. Otherwise, they will not follow the plan that you create. So, your meal planning assessment should help you to get to know your client, their traditional foods, ingredients, and recipes, what they eat on holidays or special occasions, and if they follow certain eating patterns during times of the year. Learn about what foods your client would like to see on their plan or what foods they do not eat, and find a way to respectfully incorporate these into nutrition practices and education. So, examples of questions are: what foods do you commonly eat? What are your favorite foods? Which foods do you eat on holidays or special occasions? Which foods do you avoid? Which traditions impact your food choices? So, those are some of the questions that you should be asking. And then the second part is you need to do less instructing and more listening to center your client's voice. As nutrition professionals, we shouldn't presume to know everything about people's cultures, beliefs, and practices regarding diet, health, and education. Instead, we can be more open to learning by demonstrating respectful inquiry and empathy. So, when working with cultural communities that are different than your own, it's important to know that the client's views, perceptions, culture, and experiences are valid and important. Avoid generalizing people, customs, and food names by broad cultural categories. And while you may have the nutrition science and knowledge needed to guide and empower the client is still an expert when it comes to their own personal health history, their culture, and their food preferences. So we must really listen to our clients and learn from their food traditions, nutrition needs, and health goals. And then the next step is to do your own further research on your client's cultural foods and traditions. So, an important note here is your clients are also not responsible for teaching you everything. The labor is still on you to continue learning. So, both the client and nutrition professional must work together to learn from each other to achieve the best health and nutrition outcomes. A lack of cultural competency and humility creates a barrier to effective communication. So, if the client does not trust you or feels intimidated to share their cultural foods, this can lead to a missed opportunity to provide appropriate nutrition interventions tailored to their client's dietary and cultural and health needs. And then the third key consideration I want to bring up is practicing cultural appreciation. So it's important to know what foods are available and accessible to your client and acknowledge and recognize when recipes are adapted or inspired by cultural recipes and food traditions. We mentioned doing your own research on different cultural foods, traditions, and practices. So you can definitely start this with exploring media through books, articles, TV shows, for example. And of course, since travel is kind of a difficult thing to do right now, we can instead check out different diverse neighborhoods and communities in your area. So, looking at their grocery stores, their variety stores, visiting new restaurants to try different foods and dishes, and understanding the availability of certain products. And if you are interested in taking your learning further, professional development workshops and courses are a great next step. So, an example I mentioned was Rosie Mensah's CEDAR course, which stands for Culture, Equity, Diversity, and Race. So, this is a self-paced course that focuses on anti-oppression, anti-racism, and cultural competency for nutrition professionals. And you can also head to our blog at blog.thatcleanlife.com to learn more about Rosie's story and her course. And when you use ingredients that are native to a particular culture, it's essential to learn the history of the ingredients. So if you're making any ingredient swaps or substitutions to remove traditional foods, ask yourself why you are making a change in the recipe. So, editing traditional cultural recipes and calling it a healthy version can oversimplify time honored recipes and create the assumption that traditional foods from another culture are less healthy. For example, rice is a staple food in many countries around the world for a good reason. It's an important and nutritious cereal crop that feeds more than half of the world's population. So if you're swapping rice for, say, quinoa, ask the question on why. Is this related to a bias you might have on what healthy eating looks like? So diving a little bit deeper if you're making those ingredient swaps or substitutions. And we know the members of That Clean Life and their clients are worldwide, spanning different cultures and ethnicities. So we work hard to develop recipes from various cuisines that use a variety of ingredients. And of course, if there's recipes within That Clean Life that you may be missing, or some cultural recipes that you really want to see, we are so very open to recipe requests. And we take them very seriously, and we really are working towards improving our recipe database to include more cultural recipes. So with that, I want to introduce something super exciting with all of you, and that is now that we offer several cultural tags, including African-inspired, Asian-inspired, Caribbean-inspired, Indian recipes, Latin-inspired recipes, and Middle Eastern-inspired recipes. So these recipes with a cultural tag may be authentic dishes or inspired by the flavors of the region. So we have someone just mentioned they were looking for Hispanic recipes. So for example, for that, you would use the cultural tag Latin and hopefully be able to find some recipes in there. And if you are still looking for recipes that you can't find in there, let us know, and we can definitely add more recipes for certain specific dishes or meals. So let us know in the chat box as well if you are ready to see That Clean Life in action and learn how to create culturally humble nutrition plans using That Clean Life. So give me a yes if you're ready to dive in, and also keep those questions coming. And so John just mentioned too, for looking for kosher recipes. So there are different tags that you can use in there to find recipes that would fit the kosher diet. So using those exclusions, such as, for example, dairy-free or pork-free, seafood-free, to find recipes that meet different cultures and different dietary restrictions or eating patterns. So with that, there's lots of yeses going on. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can dive into That Clean Life. All right. And I'm also just going to make sure that I have my chat box open on the side. All right, Abigail, can you let me know if you can see my screen all right?
Yep, it looks good.
Perfect. So I'm going to take you into That Clean Life to show you how easy it can to create amazing materials like those meal plans and recipe books for your clients, which include those cultural recipes. But before I do that, let me know in the chat box as well. If you are a member, just type in member, or if you are not yet a member, type in not yet, just to know who is here with us today so that I can also tailor my demo through the software. Okay, we've got a couple of members, and we've got some people who are also not yet members. All right, so with that, maybe I'll do a little bit of a really quick overview of That Clean Life first. So this is your dashboard. It kind of it's your hub of new recipes, gives you our top stories and any new features that we've released, such as over here, we just released a new feature called Quick Tags, our cultural tags, any coaching call replays, things like that. And then under our recipes tab, that's where you'll find all of our recipes. I'm just going to remove that filter that I have over there. Clearly, I was looking for some cultural recipes right before this lesson today. And so with our recipes, you can filter based on time, ingredients, those tags like I talked about, including certain ingredients, excluding, as well as those nutrition filters. You can add your own recipes as well as modify our recipes to tweak them to be what you need them to be. All of our recipes also come with nutrition analysis. And as you build your own recipes too, you would get a full nutrition analysis. When you are creating meal plans with That Clean Life, the nutrition analysis will also fill in as you create your meal plan. With our powerful planner, you can create a meal plan from blank, starting from scratch with an empty plan, as well as generating a personalized plan using our automator. You can build a plan based on calories, macros, tags, and exclusions really quickly, literally within seconds. All of our plans, as you create them, you build a grocery list. So maybe I'll open up one of our plans over here, and you can see how the nutrition analysis has filled out, as well as that grocery list. So the list builds as you create your plan. And if you want to use some of our pre-made programs, so we've got over 100 pre-made programs, also known as done for you plan. Each of them comes with a meal plan, recipes, grocery list, supporting evidence. So all of our plans are backed by research and scientific evidence for why we include or exclude certain nutrients, maybe some key principles and considerations. And our plans come with a prep guide. So that outlines step by step what your client needs to do throughout the week to stay organized with their meal plan. So that's our pre-made programs, which we've got programs based on different medical conditions, different diet types, all that good stuff. And we've also got collections here. So collections allows you to organize your content into groups. For example, I've got a Middle Eastern inspired recipe collection going on right now where I am saving all my favorite Middle Eastern recipes. So you can organize recipes. You can even organize meal plans. So keep your clients' meal plans in different folders. Or for example, if you want to share a meal plan with recipes with your client. And to share any of these resources with your clients, it's as simple as clicking the share button and turning on sharing and sending your client a shared link. So before we get into that, I want to go a little bit deeper into our recipe database and what you get access to with your That Clean Life membership. So all of our recipes are created by our team of recipe developers, and we add new recipes every week so that you have access to a constant stream of inspiration. And you can search for recipes in a variety of ways that I mentioned, such as time, number of ingredients, inclusions, exclusions of ingredients, and those nutrition filters based on calories, macros, vitamins, and minerals. So you can get really specific with the types of recipes that you're looking for. And what I wanted to really show you today was our cultural tags. So we've got those cultural tags for African, Asian, Caribbean, Indian, Latin, Mediterranean, and Middle Eastern. So for example, if we look for, you can look for Asian inspired recipes, all you have to do filter. You can see what pops up. You can go a little bit further by adding more inclusions, exclusions, or if you wanted, for example, only Asian recipes, that Asian inspired recipes that are dinner recipes or include certain ingredients, like for example, tofu. So you can keep going a little bit more specific to find exactly what your clients are looking for. You can add as many filters as you'd like, which makes finding the perfect recipes for your clients really easy. And once you apply the right filters and tags, you can start building your client's meal plan or recipe book or meal planning guide. And all of these recipes too, I just want to point out, they can be modified and you can also add your own recipes to your personal recipe box. And with these recipes, you can create different types of content for your clients. So there's three types of content that you could create. For example, you could create a meal plan which outlines exactly what your clients are going to eat. You can choose to allow your client to edit the meal plan or not as well using the share feature, which I will show you in just a second. Or you could create a recipe book like I had shown my Middle Eastern inspired recipe book. So that's a collection of recipes that you put together for your clients. Or you could create a meal planning guide, which is a collection of recipes you put together for your clients along with a blank meal plan so that your client can do their own meal planning. So like I'd shown, once you have your recipes filtered, so let's just go with this Asian inspired dinner recipes that must have tofu. For example, say I'm creating a meal plan for, I've started a meal plan here for Catherine, a client who prefers Asian inspired warm breakfast of either, for example, congee or certain puddings that she can prep ahead of time. Simple on-the-go snacks like tamarind, edamame, cucumber, nori sheets. So what I would do here then is all I have to do is hit share and say I want to actually include Catherine in the meal planning process. Like I mentioned, when creating cultural resources for your client, also really important that you include your client in that process. So all I would have to do here is turn on sharing like I had just turned on. I'm going to allow edits so Catherine and I can work on this plan together. Copy the link, and I would send that to the client, Catherine, either through email or through your practice management software. And when Catherine opens up that plan, she will get taken right into her plan and she can see what's going on and she can also make edits. So this is what the client would see on their end. And then on the practitioner end, I can see the plan too. I can maybe even say to Catherine, okay, let's add in some more recipes. So Catherine says, you know what, I really wanted those dinner recipes that have tofu and maybe include rice or noodles. So like that Dan Dan noodles recipe looks really good. So we can add this to Catherine's plan we'll add it to her dinner. We'll put 2 servings, so we'll do 1 serving on Saturday, and maybe I'm like, yep, this looks really good. We'll add that to the lunch as a leftover as well. So within Catherine's plan, I've added those dan noodles and I've marked that one as a leftover. And Catherine can see all the changes on her end as well. She might say that looks good, or Catherine actually wants to swap this recipe or move it around. Maybe she'd want to change the serving sizes. Catherine can do that on her end as well. And you set the permissions for what your client's allowed to do. So for example, over here for this sharing permissions, say I don't actually want Catherine to make any edits to it, I can turn off edits, maybe when the planning is done at the end of my consult, or I can allow exports if I want Catherine to be able to export it as a PDF. You can password protect your shared plans as well, so that you can input a password for your client to access that plan. You can add any attachments. For example, you can add a link or for maybe to your favorite products, or you can add some text, like a little bit of a text box, like a snippet or a brief introducing your client to their plan or giving them instructions. So we'll also show you, say you had a client who prefers to do their own meal planning, say that they'd want less of a structured plan. Instead, it would work best for them to just do their own meal planning by providing them with a blank meal plan and handpicked recipes. So for example, I've got a meal planning guide or collection going on right here for Juhi, who's interested in Indian inspired recipes. So I've got a blank meal plan over here. You can see that there's nothing in it, and I've got my smart rule set to only look for Indian recipes. And then I've also added some Indian inspired recipes for Juhi that I think she would really like based on my meal planning assessment with her of foods that she loves to eat and foods that she avoids or excludes in her diet. So all I have to do here is, again, turn on sharing. I want to allow the edits over here because I want Juhi to be able to fill in her blank meal plan. And then I'm going to actually add an attachment. I want to explain to Juhi how to use this meal planning guide. So I'm just going to put instructions. Oh, bad spelling here. Instructions for meal planning. All right. And then you can input your own instructions, or you can use one of our snippets. So I'm going to put apply from snippet, and we've got some templates going on here. So you can choose that meal planning guide introduction, apply it. I'm going to put just a little note to say, hi, Juhi, personalize it. And I'm going to create that attachment. I want it to pop up as soon as Juhi opens the link. So I'm going to pin that attachment as well. And then what I'll do here is copy the link. We'll swap this one. And so when Juhi opens that link, this is the first thing she sees. She sees her instructions of how to use this guide, how to use that grocery list, meal prep, and that attachment's always there if she needs to refer back to it. She can see all of the recipes that I've allowed her to access to add to this meal plan, and then she can start meal planning. So this is Juhi's view or the client's view. She can click in, find which recipes fit what she's looking for. So maybe she wants to add a lunch recipe to begin with. She'll add this chickpea and spinach roti. Maybe she wants 2 servings, and she'll mark this one as a leftover. And then any changes that Juhi is making to her plan, as a practitioner, I can see what's going on. So again, I can do a virtual consult and help Juhi meal plan together, or she can do the meal planning on her own. And then later on, I can check back and see what Juhi's been up to. So maybe I'll add some biryani over here. That looks really good. She can move things around. She maybe wants to have this for dinner and do this one for lunch instead. So she can move things around. She can also mark things as leftover, change serving sizes. And when you allow for editing within the link, so your client can basically remove meals, add meals, make swaps, edit their list, and more. So as Juhi's building her meal plan too, like I mentioned before, the grocery list automatically populates. So her grocery list is building as she adds recipes or meals to her plan. And your client will be able to select from the recipes you provided. Like if Juhi clicks on the box, she can see 17 recipes that are included in that collection I gave her. But if your client wants more variety, they can use that swap feature. So here I'm going to use swap recipe. So they can swap a recipe to find other recipes within the entire That Clean Life database that matches the SMART rules you applied for the plan. So if I'm going back to the practitioner view, you can see for SMART rules, I applied the Indian tag. So Juhi's only going to get Indian inspired recipes within her plan. And like I mentioned, you can see all edits on your end and collaborate with your clients in real time. So it's a great user-friendly way to empower your clients to create or continue working on a meal plan from the recipes that you have provided them with. So yeah, Juhi can keep continuing to make her meal plan, and I can see everything on my end. She can add, move things around again. And you can also work with your clients. So if they're struggling a little bit, if it's their first time using that meal planning guide, you can maybe help with them moving things around, changing recipes, and show them how it's done if you don't want to let them just do it on their own. But is there any questions so far on what I've shown you today? For example, on finding recipes, I want to go back here and filter. So for example, someone had mentioned looking for Latin recipes. So all you have to do is look for that tag, hit filter. So you're getting about over 120 recipes. You can get even more specific. For example, if your client really likes to maybe have recipes that only take 30 minutes to make, for example. So we'll do Latin 30 minutes, or get more specific with the ingredients that you want to include, exclude, or those nutrition filters as well. You can get as specific as you need to be. And so Erin just mentioned or asked, will the playback be emailed, right? Yes. So this lesson is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out tomorrow. So any questions about our cultural tags, creating meal plans, recipe books, or that meal planning guide, looking through our programs, the grocery list? Any questions so far, or anything that I can help clarify about creating culturally appropriate resources for your clients, or working towards that process of cultural humility, or additional resources that you might need? So Emily's asking, are you able to filter for specific types of cuisines within a category? For example, Puerto Rican foods versus Mexican foods. So we don't have the cultural tags specific to certain countries as yet. And I'm saying as yet, because for example, we've got Indian recipes, which is a highly requested area. So it's definitely something that we are working towards. Or if you have certain Puerto Rican or Mexican recipes that you are really wanting to see within the platform as well, that's something that we can add. Again, we're always adding to our recipe database, so feel free to send in your recipe requests. And so John just asked a little bit more info on kosher requirements. So while we don't have a kosher tag, most of our meals are actually kosher. So very few recipes contain meat and dairy together, and you can easily search for recipes that are dairy-free for lunch and dinner, for example, just using our dairy-free tag. Maybe you also want to add pork-free and seafood-free, and you would filter recipes over there. And you can also quickly edit those tags using our quick tags function over here. So our recipe database has tons of recipes, and if you want to make sure that those recipes are pork-free or don't contain shellfish or don't contain dairy, you can just add in those tags over there. And once you have your specific kosher, you've narrowed down the recipes that fit your kosher kosher tag or kosher needs for your client for their meal planning, you can even create a kosher bookmark. So I've filtered now for dairy-free, pork-free, seafood-free, and then I can just hit bookmarks, create bookmark, and I can call this kosher bookmark, so I can quickly find that and apply it. So for example, if I go out of my filters and I hit bookmark and I need to quickly find kosher recipes, hit kosher bookmark, and you can find recipes that fit your client's needs. So it's a one-time setup that's super helpful moving forward. So let me know if that helps with clarifying on kosher requirements, John. Or any other cultural recipes that you're looking to see, any tags that you're looking to find, or maybe if you've struggled to find certain recipes, let me know right now and I can help you walk you through that. And like I mentioned, so That Clean Life is really, we're actively working to add more cultural recipes from different parts of the world, including more diversity in our recipe database. So as you look through these recipes, if there is, maybe with what your clients are working with, or a recipe that you're looking to really see, let us know. And Susan asked, how do you find tags and add to the bookmark? So all you have to do, Susan, is filter, add in your tags. So for example, let's say your client is really looking for African recipes that use 8 ingredients or less, and they have to be, let's just say, have at least 3 grams of fiber. So really specific over there. Filter those recipes. So you've added in your tags, you've added in any other filters that you need for your client. So let's just say this client's name is Becca. And so once you've got your filters down, all you have to do is hit bookmark, create your bookmark, and we'll call this Becca's African inspired recipes, and create bookmark. Apply it. And so even if you pop out of the software, you remove all your filters, and you really want to find those African inspired recipes with those 3 grams of fiber, all you have to do is go to bookmark, Becca's African inspired, apply it, and you find specifically what you need, and you can always adjust the filters and tags within that as well. So adding your tags and filters, all you need to do after is hit the bookmarks and create your bookmark. And you can always go back and edit your bookmarks and readjust them to create a new bookmark if needed, if those requirements for your client or your search changes. So you can be as specific or as broad when filtering recipes based on different tags. And our tags also include meal type tags. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for example, cooking method like slow cooker, 1 pan, pressure cooker. Those cultural recipes, like I mentioned, or specific dietary conditions like low FODMAP, low histamine, low oxalate, as well as specific dietary exclusions like nut-free, dairy-free, gluten-free, pork-free, or you want specific types of foods like salads or smoothies. So we've got tons of tags and tons of ways to filter recipes. So if you are a member of That Clean Life, I highly recommend you get familiar with all of our ways to filter recipes and plans, and that'll make it really easy to find the exact recipes that your client would need for their plan. And always when you're working with your no matter if it's cultural recipes or not, always want to include your client in that process of creating their plan or their recipe book or their nutrition resource, so that they feel included in the process, but also you're finding recipes specifically or meals that meet their needs. So I'm just looking at any more questions. So someone said, can you do Latin and vegan? Yes, you can combine as many recipe tags as you need. So here I'm just going to do Latin, and we'll also specify vegan, hit filter recipes, and you can look through to find what meets your client's requirements. But yes, adding as many tags as you want. Of course, the more tags that you add, the fewer recipes that will show up, because it's going to be more, you're narrowing down your recipe search, but that's really helpful as well to find specifically what you need for your clients. Any other questions that I can help with or I can help answer? And of course, if we don't get to your questions today, or if you think of something later, or if you are watching this replay right now and you have questions, you can send us an email at support@thatcleanlife.com. We are always standing by, ready to help and answer your questions about the software or nutrition planning and creating different types of resources.
I don't see any other questions coming in quite yet. Hopefully we got to all of your questions. I think we did. But like Evita said, if anything else pops up, please let us know. We're always here to help. You can reach us at support@thatcleanlife.com. So I hope you found today's class helpful. Let us know in the chat right now what you thought of today's class. If you have any feedback for us, or if you'd like any other topics covered in the future, we always love to hear from you. Evita, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your expertise on this topic. I sure learned a lot, and I hope everybody here today did too. So why don't we wrap it up there for today? Thank you all so much for coming, and thanks for being here with us too, Evita.
Thank you so much, Abigail. And thanks, everyone. And of course, send us your questions if you have anything that pops up later. And they thank you for all of your time today. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.